All right. Are we ready? We're here. We're here. I'm glad that Justin put the date up because he says January 9th, 2014, so I know where the heck we are. This is Tar Podcast 46. It's been a while, like 2 months. Been a lot of things going on. Christmas, New Year's, Moscone Cup, all kinds of things. I'm going to start off just to put everybody at rest. Obviously, you see some new, I have accessories this week that I've never had before. I've always had emphysema, not always, I've had emphysema diagnosed a little over 20 years ago, and I just had a little episode, and it just caused a little issue, so this will probably be, if you see me, you'll probably see this thing. I just want to let you know that breathing is highly overrated. Don't worry about it. I'm not worried about it. You know, it's part of the growing old process. A lot of people have shown concerns, and I appreciate that, but let's not make it bigger than it is. Yeah, Justin, a lot of things have been happening since we've been on the air. A couple things I think we should just touch off right off the bat is we lost a real giant in the industry. That's George Fells. We saw him at the Hall of Fame dinner, which was in conjunction with the Moscone Cup, and just a couple days later after that, he went home and died of a massive heart attack. And he's 75 years old, from Chicago. For those of you who don't know who he was actually a pretty accomplished player, author, wrote 4, 5, 6 books. I think most people know him from his sharp wit and great observations, but he wrote the column in Billiards Digest for something like 25 years. I mean, the guy was a pretty decent guy, and it just happens. Also, Lloyd Schontner, who was the founder of TAP, passed away a couple of days ago. I'm sorry, I just don't know the actual dates. I'm not very good at that kind of stuff. So want to recognize them because, the pool industry is losing people at a pretty fast clip, and it's just the generational thing. So it's kind of the way it happens, but they both contributed, and we're going to be missing them both. So what's on your agenda? Should we just mention TAR 38? It's coming up January 17th through 19th. That should be a good one.
Next Friday, it's Dennis and Appleton, Darren, matching up and all around.
It's Dennis Orculo.
Yeah.
Make sure I get the right Dennis, not Dennis the Menace.
And be playing 8-ball, 1-pocket, 10-ball. So should be interesting.
In that order?
No.
Okay.
1-pockets first, then 8-ball, then 10-ball. We do the 1-pocket first because it tends to go longest, and that way we used to do it, on a Saturday or something like that. I think might have even done it last, but we decided to do it Friday. That way, if people want to watch it live, if it does go late, it goes late into Saturday, so they don't have to worry about missing anything the next day. And then the 8-ball rules. We're going to change those. We're going to switch to take what you make after the break.
Okay, there were some questions on that, so it's take what you make. Okay.
Because we tried it the other way. I did a poll a long time ago, and it seemed to favor open after the break, so we've done that for a while, and it just shows how easy the pros can make the game look.
It's pretty amazing. We were just watching. Justin put the teaser up there with the Orculo Shane Van Boning 8-ball match, and it was insane. I mean, I don't think Orculo ever missed a ball, and after 2 innings, the score was 7-7, if I remember correctly. Shane ran a 7.
It's a crazy set. They played a race of 15 about 2.5 hours.
And that wasn't that on the 4 1/8 inch pockets that time?
I believe so.
I think that was the last set we played on. It is amazing.
That's the same set where Shane. No, these weren't, because he played. Who was he playing when he ran the unfinished 10-ball?
That was Alex, I believe.
Yeah.
The first day he ran from 23 to 33 or something like that, and ran the day out. He won.
I don't remember if these were tied or not. I don't think they were.
Okay.
I was thinking
they were. This was the last set.
I don't think they were. I don't think they were.
Okay.
I remember when Darren and Shane played on those pockets. Those were tight, and I'd have to look at the list and see where that falls.
Then Archer played Shane and actually beat.
They were tight.
They were tight.
And Boosty was tight, but it was right around that time we changed.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Anytime I
It's
get
a
to
pick 'em,
see,
too.
anytime I get
Yeah.
to see Dennis play,
Yeah.
either one of those guys, they're great players. But Dennis only gets to this country, a couple
Yeah.
times a year. So anytime we get a chance to see him play, it's
Yeah.
cool. And we get a chance to see him play some games you don't normally get to see. So
And and Appleton kind of woke up to that one pocket. He's starting to play pretty
he's a
good one pocket.
monster. He's an absolute
I
monster.
remember when he was first learning. He played that match at Derby City. It was a 7-hour match, something like that. It was with a race
know.
to 3, mind you. It was pretty insane. But he's turned into him. He came in 3rd in the China 8-ball event.
Yeah,
Which is
I've watched Daz get some pretty big spots, and it kind of suits him because he's so mentally tough that
Yeah.
he can bear down. And I've seen him give some pretty crazy spots, and he's able to outrun the nuts. But no, that one pocket set's going to be really cool.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And then the 8-ball is just going to be an absolute shootout. I like the idea of changing the break rules, and
At this level, I'm going to agree with you.
you know,
You know,
the way I decided to do it was just basically it's take what you make, but if you make one of each ball, it's open.
sure.
So if you make 2 solids in one stripe, you're not screwed taking solids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but if you're only dribbling one ball in, then it
That's
could
what you
get
got.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At this level, I'm just going to agree.
Or if
with
you make 2 solids, you're solids. I mean, it's just it adds a little more element of luck to the game. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We can always change it up.
What time that starts at? What are you?
It's
5
going to start 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern each day.
each day.
And then the pay-per-view will be available for purchase on Monday. The links will be up.
Yeah, that's
And then both guys are going to be here next Thursday for a podcast.
okay.
So that'll be pretty cool.
Yeah.
And looking forward to it. The podcasts can be some of the best things about the matches. I know on our YouTube channel, there seem to be the ones that draw. A lot of people like to watch those. And Darren's really good at those. I think it was when Shaw and Ronnie played, Darren was here, and he was part of that podcast, and that was really good.
Yeah.
So if anybody's not seen that, they should check out that one. I'm
Yep.
pretty sure that's the one where he was in with.
And they could go. You can go back to the TAR TheActionReport.com
Yep.
page and go back all of our historical. This is TAR 38. This is TAR podcast 46. So there's 84 events floating around here somewhere. So it's
Well, the podcasts are all on YouTube, and they're actually all on our website as well. There's a playlist on our website. You can watch them right on the Action Report website. Just scroll down to the bottom, and it's got them all there. Once again, I wanted to mention the reason why we have that website. That's Arizona Web Kings. Hooked us up and did a fantastic job with that. We did have a problem with our host, which was nothing to do with the guy who built the site. I host through HostGator, and the new site started getting so much traffic that it was kicking off like breakers.
is that what
And-
happened?
Yeah, and because there was with the thing we have on the site now, there's people can leave Facebook comments, you can share things all right through the website, and that was happening, and it was using up processes on the server, which was a shared server. So basically had to go to I think they call it VPS, virtual private server, I think is what it's for. But anyway, and it took a while to get that unscrewed up, the transition, and then it was all the host, and but even then, like I hadn't talked to Tom from Arizona Web Kings in, I don't know, maybe a month and a half since we got the site finalized, and just sent him an email out of the blue, and he got right back to me and said, "Hey, look, this is what you need, this is what's going on," and so it's really nice having somebody that you can,
Yeah,
that-
you're
that
real
can
happy
give you
with
the-
the
they
Arizona
were awesome.
guys.
Yeah, and he's I highly anybody looking to do something for a site. You should check them out. You know, it's not some guy building websites in his basement. So it's, you're not going to spend $300 to get a website, but he does good work and he charges a fair price for it. So
All right, good.
it's good stuff.
Well, there's a lot of things we can talk about, and there's a couple things we can just knock off. We have a thread on AZ Billiards and just comments. And here's one. Here's a topic for you. Player of the Year is, and I haven't given it a whole lot of thought, but AZ Billiards announced Shane Van Boening and I've lost the name.
It's Kelly Fisher,
Kelly,
right?
Kelly, yeah. I kept saying Kelly. I'm saying Julie Kelly. No, it's Kelly Fisher. Yeah. Too many Fishers. There's 3 Fishers: Allison, and Kelly. And I would go along with their picks. I think they both had some pretty stellar years. I think Shane's, I read in that article that Shane's AZ money win was $154,000. So somebody's making money in pool, but just not too many of them. So I can just start running down some of these other ones just to because we do appreciate people's comments. And Mr. Bond has put down, and Mr. Bond is part of the or founder of and coordinator and chief cook and bottle washer of the American Billiard Radio. It's and actually they're going to be on immediately after us, not on this channel or whatever. You have to go to the ABR AmericanBilliardRadio.com or something. They're they're not competitors. We're all in the same gigs. But he had a question. He said, should the BCA be fixed or should the BCA be replaced? That's a kind of a political issue to a degree. I think the BCA needs to take some pretty stringent. They waited too long to take the steps they should take. I'm not sure if this whole situation is recoverable because the world of pool is in a little bit of sad shape right now in the U.S. Justin and I, we've talked about it. Millions of people have been talking about it. I'm not sure what the answer is. I'm not even sure what the problem is. I know I'm not happy with a lot of the behavior of a lot of the players. I know we, CSI, we're going to invitationals for a year at least for the U.S. Open 8-ball and U.S. Open 10-ball. They'll be invitationals. We do have the U.S. Open 1 pocket, and it's open, and it's in conjunction with the Reno Championships, the bar table championships, February 24th. And even though there's some ads being placed that have been running in some of the magazines like Billiards Digest, it doesn't mention the 1 pocket because by the time we made all those decisions, you have to put the ads out so far in advance that it kind of snipped by us. But I think there needs to be some huge changes made in the professional pool. The amateur pool is kind of doing reasonably okay, just a little bit of uncoordination. I wish all the leagues could work closer together. I don't think that'll ever happen. I don't know, Justin, you got anything to say on that? It's a little bit of a rudderless ship right now.
Well, it's just like what I was talking about. If, pool needs a leader, then I don't see anybody stepping up.
Well, it's hard to step up to something when you're walking into a buzzsaw and a loser. It needs some coordination. It's going to be, I think it's going to have to, you need a leader. You need somebody that's willing to make a plan, stick to it, but it's not going to make a dime for anybody. Not for a while.
Well, then it's going to die then.
Well, and that's
and it probably should die.
Under its current format. I think it needs to, and I really do blame the behavior and the attitudes of a lot of the players. The ABP just needs to go away. They've injured themselves.
But even if they,
even if they did, it's not going to save anything.
Yeah, even if everything you dislike went away,
it's not going to. No.
What difference would it make?
Well, I think a couple of years ago, if it took a different direction, the BCA points were reasonably healthy a couple of years ago. I think we had up to eight events 2 years ago. It's projected there's only 2 events this coming up year, and you need something like that to keep the people involved. But the problem is when you do a BCA points events, et cetera, now they need to be open events, which means now you need 16 tables to get your 64 to 128 players. The costs skyrocket, and they don't work as a standalone event. I mean, even Barry Berman, and he's a stubborn guy, he struggles, and he's been doing it for 38 years. And I mean, I know everybody throws stones at him, but he's still done it for 38 years, and that takes a lot to make it happen for 38 years. But it's a tough racket. We do events, but we have 7,000 amateurs on site to help support it. So it's really an issue. I think the whole thing needs to be revamped. I think you need to start off through the amateur side, and work your way up. You have to earn your way to be a pro. And everybody has to. You can't just walk up and say, I'm Mark Griffin and I can run 1,000,000 balls and I'm going to play. I don't think it can work that way. So, but there's a,
Well, I
listen,
mean, to me, it doesn't matter.
yeah, everybody's got opinions, you're right.
It's whoever decides to put money into it and take a shot and put some effort behind it, people will get behind it. You know, people will. They probably still won't spend a whole lot of money to watch it or do anything like that, but it's it's how this game goes. It runs in cycles. You know, there'll be a next thing.
Sure.
And people, some like Siegel's thing, which makes no sense at all to me.
Yeah, that was one of the questions, and that's going to be an interesting thing to see it roll out.
But if I don't know, but But what I'm saying is, there's always another one of those things on the horizon. So,
Yep.
and I don't know. To me, it comes down to simple demographics, and that is, on the pro side of the game, it takes money, and you put 7,000 amateur pool players in a room, and you don't charge them any money to watch the best players in the world play, and the stands aren't full. So what's that tell you about?
Well,
What's that tell you about what your product?
Yeah, pool is a very tough game to watch. Yeah. Everybody said, tell me one person that loves watching pool. I mean, we all like it, but we can't watch it for more than 10 minutes. And it's
I don't,
it's tough.
If it's good pool with the right players, I can enjoy. Still to this day, I'll enjoy watching it. I'm just very picky about what I choose to watch. Sure. But it's just the other thing is everybody in this game is old. I mean, it's just as far as you look at all the promoters who do events. Show me one promoter that's under 40.
Yeah, well,
show me one that's under 60.
Well, yeah, I think there's some of those, but it's
who?
Well, you got big trucks starting to do some things.
He's not. He just streams. He doesn't.
Well, he's doing these challenge matches, but they're a whole different thing than tournaments.
That's what I'm saying. But I mean, who is putting money in the game?
Yeah.
I mean, who's creating things?
I understand that, and that all comes back down to, again, we've had the discussion. Yeah, everybody says that pool needs a sponsor, and the answer is, but pool's got to give the sponsor something.
Yeah. I mean, to me, I think the pro game in the U.S. is in really bad shape. I think this year you'll see it. To me, 2013 was the final nail in the coffin. I think 2013. I think you'll be able to look back in 4 or 5 years and really point to it as, that's what killed it. I think the IPT started digging the hole, and then. I put a lot of heat on bonus ball. I really do.
I put a ton of heat on bonus ball. But we actually said 6 months ago or so that there's going to be a lot of changes.
Yeah.
And in all honesty, it was bonus ball, but it was also the players and the people affiliated with bonus ball.
Well, see,
and
I
the
don't,
players got so arrogant.
well, yeah, but I don't hold the players,
yeah.
You know why I think some of that happens? Because they were so desperate for someone to say, look, this is what we're going to do. And from an outside point of view, if you were just, if all you cared about was going somewhere to play pool, you didn't give a shit about looking at the business side of it. You roll in there and they've got this. They said they were going to have a building in Vegas. They had a building in Vegas. They said they were going to. They did a lot of things to the players. They said they would do, except when it came time to pay them.
Well,
but
everything they
up
did
until
was,
that point, they jerked them around a lot. But at the same time, they were selling the dream. We're building a future here, and they sold the dream, and people bought into it. So I mean, and that's one thing that I've, as hard as I've been on bonus ball, I don't hold. I got a lot of players I think deserve. To me, I respect how they got behind it and were willing. Some went a little overboard. Where I draw the line is where they were saying screw other promoters and that kind of thing.
That's
that
what
was
happened.
out of line.
It became a love us or hate us. It was they made everybody choose. You don't have to choose. Yeah, you're supposed to choose. You're supposed to choose what's good for pool.
But the fact that to me that proved to me that there's somebody out there. The players, not just the players, but even the people. There was people willing to support it even after all the bullshit, and
Well,
that just shows how desperate this industry is for that. I don't know. I think 2014 could be. I think Johnny T made a good thread. And he made a good point that the time to when everything is in chaos and at the bottom is when you can make things happen because you can do it cheap. But to me,
I don't see an answer yet.
yeah,
Uh,
I don't know. I'll be honest with you, man. The more I think about it, the more I turn 41 next year. I just think I need to get the fuck out of this industry because I don't see a future in it.
Well, I turned 67 not too long
Yeah.
ago, and I'm wondering. I think it's time for me to get out of the industry too.
I mean,
I know.
I don't. I mean, I can't see a future in it. What do you see in 10 years?
The process is starting. There's a couple of things that I think are bright spots. You've got the college program through Lindenwood University that Mark Wilson's the coach and a leading force. I know that I'm involved with a thing called Six Pocket, and we're going to be rolling out. We had some real glitches with some software and websites and everything, and it's supposed to be up and running at the end of the month. And that's geared towards the kids. It's because it uses a game that's easy to score, and it's a individual, and it's something we can use to start, because we need to start growing kids. We need the Ronald McDonalds of pool to get rolling, And that's a generation. We've lost a generation.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, you hope to get a kid started maybe he's 8, 9, 10, and so 10 years later, maybe you get him, he's showing up at tournaments and stuff. And we need to rebuild this process, and it's not the same thing. And since we're going to cover a lot of ground, but it rolls into the issues at the Moscone Cup. We need teamwork. We need people trying to do the same thing rather than a bunch of, we have too many chiefs and not enough Indians. And the players look at it that way too. There's so many, it's a broken model.
Well, the thing is, when you're talking about the pro side of the game, it just comes down to, I don't blame a player for going somewhere, wherever he can make $1.
I don't either.
And so
Yeah.
that's it comes down to, you've got a whole lot of people trying to do a whole lot of stuff, and the pie's just so small.
That's not the issue, though. From where everybody agrees with you there. Everybody should have the free will to go across the street or across the country and play in a tournament and try to make a couple of bucks. But you need to treat the game with respect. You need to treat the spectators with respect. You need to treat your opponents with respect. And that's where I have my issues with some of the better players in this country. They've copped this attitude that the industry owes them a living. And, I mean, pretty soon they're starting to talk that, well, you guys need to pay us to show up. Oh, okay. And you want to sign up at the last minute, so you have no value to us if it's from promotional purposes. I just don't buy into that philosophy. I look at it, and really everybody looks at it, whether they realize it or not. If Justin, if you're going to walk in the door and it's going to cause 100 people to show up, by golly, you should get paid maybe to walk in that door. But if you walk in the door and nobody shows up, you're not worth anything. And that's the same predicament that the industry finds. We don't put butts in the seats. And until we can do that, we're going to have a really tough time getting a real live sponsor. Sponsors don't do it out of the goodness of the heart. They do it because it makes them money. It's a product. But pool is not the only one in this industry that's having, or in this predicament. The NHRA, I think, has lost Ford or somebody as a sponsorship. They were sponsorless for the first time in like 28 years or some crazy thing. NHRA, National Hot Rod Association, I mean, they used to have live things from Pomona and here, there, and everywhere, and I think they got replaced by, I think I read it somewhere, it's like badminton or something. I mean, it's just,
I was listening to
everything is changing.
Well, I was listening to an interview with Steven Van Zandt, who was in The Sopranos, plays in the E Street Band, Bruce Springsteen. Got a new series on Netflix called Lilyhammer. But he was doing an interview on Sirius Radio about musicians coming up now. And I guess he's got a radio show that he plays, just like people you will never hear of, local small acts. But he was talking about it, and he said that Today these guys, they have no chance. They have zero chance to ever make a living playing music because the type of
Really?
music they play
Huh.
just is not marketable on. It's not going to get played on the radio. And the only way you can make any money is if you either generate a following, like a government mule or something like that, where they generate a following and they make all their money off of live acts. But a lot of these guys will never get to that point. They can't even get to that point, let alone hope to ever make any money, commercially. But they're skilled players. He was talking about some of them are better skilled than 90% of the people you hear on the radio, but they just don't fit in the mold. And the other thing is that you know the guy was talking to him about how can these guys do, if they're this good, and the guy who's listening to him said they're really amazing. He said you would think there's got to be a way for people this talented.
These are musicians you're talking
Yes,
about, like
yes.
a
This
guitar player, singer,
yeah.
drummer, whatever.
Said, you would think with people this talented, there's got to be a way for them to make a living. And he said, there's not. He said,
Well,
you know, there just isn't.
hasn't music always been like basketball? 1 out of 10 million makes it. I mean, the only thing that's supercharging this industry now is a X Factor and American Idol and The Voice because
Well, that's the problem.
yeah.
All the money that used to go into developing acts, real people with real talent, I mean, all of that is now just gone to these karaoke shows. Why go out and spend money on an A&R staff, to go out and search for talent and all this stuff when you just create it on television and get paid by advertisers to do it.
Yeah.
So, but the whole point is the paradigm shifted. The paradigm shifted from you can start in your garage and build and be a rock star one day. It's just those days are gone. And so now
Yeah.
I think
I
with
can see
pool there's that thing of, for a time, if you were a top 10, top 5 player, you can make a decent living and go around the world and
Yeah.
and do well. And now, you can still do that if you're willing to travel all over the world and you can win. But
It's tough.
yeah,
Yeah.
especially in the U.S., you know, 1, 2 guys can make a living, maybe, a legitimate living.
Well, there's probably more than that to really make. I mean, you've got Mika makes a living. He lives here. He's not. A lot of people don't think him as an American player, but he lives here. And Thorsten, Appleton, Shane, obviously. I'm not sure where Mike DeShane fits in that because you don't see him playing in a lot of events. Although he's the only one I think that finished in the top 10 in all the majors last year. But you're right. I mean, the drop is.
But I mean, look at the money list.
Yeah.
To me, making a living, being the best in the world at something and making a living, if you can't make at least $100,000 a year, to me, I don't consider that, especially when you're spending 8 months a year on the road.
On the road, yeah.
So how many guys won $100,000 on the money list last year?
Well, I only know of one off the top of my head, and that's Shane. I don't know if Darren got that high or not. So no, it's well, we know it's, and until there's some outside money, because the pool world can't generate the funds that are necessary. Just like golf doesn't generate the funds that are necessary. It's the sponsorship. It's Cadillac and Nike and whoever and whatever. So I don't know. I keep thinking I'm an optimist. I mean, I keep thinking something will happen down the road, and maybe somebody will see an opportunity and make things happen. I don't know. I'm trying to think where else we should go on this. There's
let's get into the thread.
yeah. Well, the next one was we'll skip Watch's comments about my cryptic Facebook posts. Green Hornet, he's
Player, I didn't get into this. Player of the year from Brent from Straight Pool.
Yeah, we hit that when I first got started.
Well, I didn't.
Yeah.
You hit it.
Okay.
I agree 100%. Shane, no doubt,
Yeah.
this year, Player of the Year. I didn't follow the women's that much, so I have no input on that.
Well, she's about the only American women that I know. All the other ones are Chinese girls. I can hardly pronounce their names. And I think that's the way it's going to be for many years. So.
Green Hornet, yeah, we were talking about doing Him coming up to the bar table.
Yeah, I think that would be fun. I like, And by the way, he's asked it a couple times. There are no fees to watch the U.S. Bar Table Championships or the U.S. Open One Pocket. Totally free. So, and the hotel up there, it's a pretty decent hotel. It was started off as a good 4-star hotel, and then they threw $50 million in remodeling it. So, and Justin had mentioned there was a sushi all you can eat, $24, wasn't it? Something like that.
Something like that. Yeah,
And
it's a good place.
It's a very good place, and if you register and stay, and I'll even tell you what the code is, T Pool 4. That's letter T. It's $54 a night. Free Wi-Fi, free shuttle, free valet. I think free health spa. I don't know. It's a hell of a deal for the quality it is. It's way better than Motel 6. It costs you $54 in Vegas. So, no, it's a nice joint.
Any chance we can get Shane versus Booster or Alex? Yeah, I don't know. We don't know what we're going to do this year, so we're trying to figure that out. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of things up in the air. It's TAR's struggling like everything else. We don't know since a lot of the TAR events were built around CSI events with all the open players, and we're doing invitationals. Now, there is a bright spot. The Swanson Memorial is, and that's see, I should have this off the top of my head, but I can't remember half of it. 18th annual Jay Swanson is at Hard Times. It's February 15th and 16th. And then the bar tables, February 24th through March 2nd. And on the 22nd and 23rd is the Chuck Markoulis in Sacramento. So between the three of them, we still have somewhat of a West Coast swing. Last year, the California Billiard Club was part of it, but they're moving from Mountain View to, I can't remember the name, Folsom or something. It's another small Fremont, just 40 miles away or something, but they won't be open until July or August or something like that. I know that there's going to be several of the Filipinos playing in the Swanee, and they like to go up to the Chuck Markoulis, so I expect to see quite a few of them at the bar table and the U.S. Open One Pocket. So that'll be an interesting mix. But like Justin was saying, there's a lot of things up in the air this coming up year. So we have to do what we have to do. We'll be announcing a lot of things in the next couple of months.
Either you going to the Derby, I'm not going to the Derby.
I am not going to the Derby. In all honesty, it's too damn cold there in January. How do you feel about the Diamond 10-footers being in future events? I think the Diamond 10-footer is a pretty interesting proposition, but I think it's a specialty event, like the Bigfoot that they do at the Derby or something. I don't ever see, if you could have, there is value. If you could actually formulate a 8 or a 16-man professional touring tour, like the top bowlers or something do, and do it on a 10-footer, I think you could do some separating the men from the boys. But there's not enough of them to practice on. You can't be dragging 15 of them around or anything like that. So I just don't know. It's just such a conglomeration of facts. Like over 90% of the pool is played on bar tables. So shouldn't most of the events be on bar tables? But then I'm old school. I grew up on 9-footers, and to think that all the 9-footers be replaced by bar tables is not really a good thought to me. But that's the way it's going. It's evolving that way. I'm not making the rules. And you have to listen to what the public chooses. They're saying they would rather play on bar tables for who knows what reason. They take less space, they're cheaper.
Well, I can tell you that our YouTube channel, out of the top 10 videos,
really interesting.
The top 10 videos, I think 8 of them are bar table videos. There's one 9-foot table, and the other one is the Efren podcast.
Yeah, Efren podcast.
And the top, I looked at the summary for 2013, and they're almost all bar table videos that got the most views. So to me, that tells me something.
It tells you something. It's absolutely true. And look at all the amateur events. Look at my event, APA, all of them, 7-foot tables. Other than Mike Siegel says this is going to be on 8-foot tables, and I can make
where do you get 64 or 32
I can make a side bet with
tables?
somebody that ain't never happening. And I'm not knocking Mike. I've known Mike for years. I wish him the best. I'll also wish him good luck.
Yeah.
Tough thing he's trying to do. Let's just grab the beast by the horns, or as Mark Cantrell said, the elephant in the room, and let's talk a couple minutes on the Moscone Cup. Since everybody else is throwing their 2 cents in, we might as well throw ours in.
I mean, it was an embarrassment, I think.
It was a total embarrassment. The thing that probably upset me more than anything, but I don't quite understand Matchroom's response. This is shown live at Sky Sports in Europe and UK, and I guess they said 600 million people, a potential crowd. And it's not a delay. In other words, when everybody's dropping the F-bombs, that was going out over the TVs because that's legal, I guess, in London and wherever. I can't believe that Matchroom didn't go over to the players and say, "Hey, you're going to get fined every time you do that." I mean, I didn't hear any of it because we're live. We didn't know what they were putting on over the microphones. But if in fact they're dropping as many F-bombs as they say they were and showing that disrespect verbally, they should really be chastised. And if I was Barry Hearns, I'd have just said, "You guys are getting half pay and screw you. You'll never be back." Or so. I don't know. It's total disrespect for the game, the audience. Maybe they don't understand the importance of,
To me,
just like,
to me, that whole thing just put the cap on the year.
Yes, it did.
You couldn't.
You couldn't orchestrate it better.
No, it's just I really, it's like I said this in a post. I had full access to everything. Matchroom and Luke and those guys are always super cool to me.
They are all cool.
And he was like, "Look, come out, do all this." I went over there for a couple hours during the dinner, the Hall of Fame dinner, because I promised Mike Bonozzo I would film the dinner, and didn't go over any other day. I watched every day online, but didn't go, and it was because I just couldn't take seeing, some people that I don't feel deserve to be held up as icons, especially when you're talking about representing the United States. And then to see, I know Rodney did it 3 or 4 times, and I don't know who else was doing it, but when he's sitting here dropping F-bombs on international live television, I can understand once or twice. I can understand if you're in the heat of battle, and something comes out, no problem. Absolutely, I get it.
You're frustrated. You're hyped up and you're disappointed.
Fine.
Blah blah blah. Yeah.
But as it kept going, it was just like, do you not even care?
Yeah.
That's the impression as a viewer I got, was that these guys just don't even care. They just. It's, I don't know, and I hate to bash on players, but it was just, and there was no culture, there's no leadership. To me, that's what it all comes down to, man. I keep coming back to that over and over, and it's in the entire game. It's not just on the pro side; it's in the whole game. There's no leadership. There's no one there to say, this is the way you do it, and this is why. It's every man for himself, and, whoever's left standing at the end, good for them. There's no moral code. The only moral code is if somebody screws you over, you probably deserved it because you weren't smart enough to see it coming.
Yeah, well.
And to me, I've done other things in my life and been around other, activities. And to me, that's the thing that hurts the game more than anything else, is there's just a lack of a moral code, for better or worse.
Of ethical behavior in general.
Yeah.
And appearance.
And not only that, but it's
dress code,
an
everything.
expectation of that. Yeah. There's not even an expectation. The expectation is that it's going to be screwed up. It's, well, what did you expect? Did you expect anything different? That's the outlook, is that, of course they're dropping F-bombs. What else would they do?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they drop F-bombs on international television? They're pool players. And to me, that's bad.
It's real bad.
I
don't think it's expected, but I don't think it's
Do you think anyone was shocked?
No, I don't think anybody's surprised.
Yeah.
But there's a
Well,
lot of
to
people
me,
that don't
that's
do
the same
that.
thing.
It's the high profile
Here,
players.
let's
that
put it
want
this
to-
way. What if Ralph Souquet went on there and started dropping
Yeah.
F-bombs? Do you think people would have been shocked? I do.
I would have been.
Yeah. So what's that tell you?
Well, I
You know,
understand. I agree with you.
It's a different level
it's
of
the-
expectation
it's-
because
it's the American high profile players, and there's a lot of, they're the quote accepted leaders, and people follow them. So, well, if he can do it, I can do it. You're right. It's a real bad precedent. It's a real bad, but there's no organization to fine them, to slap them down, to sanction them, to do this, do that. It's a bunch of cowboys. So. I'm probably a little more vocal on it, and I'm probably a little more blaming it on the people that I think are the leaders, which are the top professional players. Those, name a top professional amateur or a top high visibility amateur. There's hundreds of them, so they don't get the recognition. But everybody knows who Johnny Archer is if they're in the industry. Rodney Morris, Stevie Moore, and all these guys. And those guys just need to pick up their game, the way they behave. I personally think it's water under the bridge for a lot of them. We need a new crop, and even some of these comments and questions like clothing and attire and behavior and all those things, and I think those are important topics and issues that need to be addressed.
I used to never be a big one for dress codes. For most things, just something about the way I looked at it, anything that a reasonable person would wear outside the house.
Except if you're on TV.
Yeah. But the more I think about it,
it's all part of the image.
Right. Absolutely. I think I think there's definitely a place for that, and I think for pool to have any type of future, the whole way it's presented has to change.
Totally agree.
And
totally agree.
I'll tell you something. J.P. Parmenter posted a Facebook page. He did like a 2013 year in review.
100 best pictures.
100 best pictures.
Yeah, nice.
You go look through that. Pool looks cool. If you look through his photographs, Pool looks awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like, if I showed somebody that didn't know anything about Pool and they looked at his photographs, they would say, "Shit, that looks interesting.
Yeah.
What is that? I want to know more about this." Because
good observation.
And then it's so to me, that's the type. If there is any future, to me, that's the type of future that it'll be. It's got to have something to where it's presented, correctly, and it's not just, hey, this week we're having a $500 added down at Bob's Tavern.
Yeah.
Gives a shit.
Well,
the guy who's going to go play in it might, but you're talking about two different levels. And, the sad part is probably I don't think anybody really gives a shit aside from the 1,000 people that are on AZ Billiards. But,
that's true. AZ Billiards is not a representative of the pool playing public. They're a very small niche, and I'm not going to say they're an educated niche because some of them think they're educated and don't know. There's some real idiots floating around.
Well,
but that's everywhere.
I can't imagine without AZ.
Oh yeah.
I can't.
I appreciate it more every day.
Without AZ, I can't even. What little there is wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I'm talking about for the last 6 or 7 years.
Plus,
it's. Look at all the matches that Tar's done, all the events we covered. We started streaming the Action Room at the Derby.
Yeah.
Now there's 4 or 5 streamers there.
Mm-hmm.
All this stuff. None of that would have happened without AZ.
I totally agree.
So, AZ is an extremely, influential and powerful thing.
Mm-hmm.
But
they're the glue right now.
Absolutely. But the problem is, and I'm guilty of this, is that,
freedom of speech.
No, not that. It's just you think because, okay, shit, 100 people on AZ are talking about this, that means, shit, people must be interested in it, right? Well, yeah, they are. Those 100 people that are talking about it.
Yeah.
It doesn't carry over.
No.
The reach is not as grand as you would think. You know, you would think that, okay, here's a focus group of cognoscenti, you know, people who care about this game enough to spend their time reading about it and interacting with it. So you would think that would be kind of a window into a deeper demographic, you know, but it's not. I mean,
Well,
it's
one of the biggest problems this industry have, and I'm sure there's other industries that have it too, there's no way of really getting in contact with the pool players. You know, you take all the print magazines, and I'll bet you there's not 20,000 subscribers if you add them all together.
yeah.
And half of them are the same. I mean, one person subscribes to all the magazines. You can't count them 3 times.
Well,
There's no
well,
penetration
when you
into
consider
the
there's
public.
3 magazines and one of them doesn't even get delivered.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, I mean, Inside Pool. How long have they been running that scam?
I don't know.
I mean,
Yeah, he's just about all streaming now, and I know that you know. But and that's, I don't know. It just, but it's sad. But it's just.
but
I mean,
that's a perfect example. Is, you know, here's a guy that for years and years has people taking money for subscriptions. People never get their magazines.
Yeah.
Over and over and over.
I
And
understand.
you know what? The industry reaction is not, okay, ostracize this guy, you know, cut out the cancer.
Yeah.
Let's, you know,
So
uphold.
they just close their eyes.
Yeah, exactly. Keep giving them money.
Yeah. It's there's a lot of issues in this whole industry, and it does need to get started over at the grassroots, and I think it's through the juniors. I see no other possible solution, but and even that's going to take some time and energy and money. So I don't know. Well, a couple of things I want to touch on. One thing real quick. We were talking about Derby City a little bit, and Joe Tucker is having the second session of the finals for the ABC, which is American Billiard Club League. It's actually an association, and there's going to be $15,000 prize fund. 10 players who have all qualified to get there. They play out of their room, and then they go to a 3 or 4 room regional, and then the people from the regionals go to the national. There's 10 players, $15,000. Everyone's guaranteed $1,000. They get their way paid basically to go to the finals. So that's kind of it's slowly gaining a little credibility. It's a great system. It makes a lot of sense. Inside Pool will be streaming the finals from the Derby City. Joe Tucker will be doing the commentary and explaining everything. If anybody has any questions on how to get involved in this, I really, really think this is a bright spot in pool because it makes it where a high-level player or a person that really wants to get involved and learn can play at the local level for like $25 a week, and you can play at home and still see how you compete on the national level. Takes 8 players to create a room. So the next session is probably going to start on March 1st. Joe Tucker, it's JTTENBALL@gmail. And his phone number for anybody that's listening is 508-840-6133. You can find him on Facebook. You can put it on AZ. You'll get plenty of responses. It really is a bright spot. I hope some more people will get involved. It needs to grow a little bit. Had 12 rooms this year. This session, they need 20 to make it really work. The goal is to get 64 rooms. At 64 rooms, you have, I think it's 6 national tournaments with 60,000 in each one. I might have it might be 30,000. It's pretty good deal. But that's going to be coming out of the Derby City, and it is a bright spot. And there are some bright spots, you know. But I don't know. It's this whole industry is in such a turmoil right now. And I expect this year to be a shaking out process. I think you're going to see a little bit of some more disappointments, but I think somebody's going to come up with an idea and make it work. I just wish some of the other ones, and I don't mean to beat up on CJ. I think he's a very intelligent guy, but if you're going to do something, do something. Don't talk about the pie in the sky and how it was 20 years ago. At least Mike Siegel's trying something. I don't think he's. I see some real issues with his model, but hey, I've been wrong before. I just hope that he performs. They're saying $1 million in prize, $250,000 the top winner, but I do know that if you're a rated 7 player, which 7 is the weakest player in his scale, you get ball in hand 7 times a game. I don't see how you're going to ever monitor a system that goes, from. I don't know, but that's his issue.
I don't know.
I know it's not Trudeau's money. I have heard that it's that a fellow by the name of Maurice Rins is involved in it. He was also involved years ago with the collectible cards. You might remember the collectible cards, pool player collectible cards. Believe it or not, Justin, I just found this out the other day. Their home office is in Henderson. I didn't even know it's down here on St. Rose Parkway. So.
We'll get back to the thread here. Dave
Yeah.
M. has a question. Do you think the location of current events is part of the problem with today's tournaments? I can understand. I think anytime you got to travel, it costs money. So ideally, yeah, it'd be pretty sweet to be able to go and play somewhere, but that's just not how it works. So, to me, a plane ride's a plane ride. So.
Well, Vegas is getting more expensive, but everywhere's more expensive. And if you're going to be doing big events, you have to have them where the hotels are, and then that's just kind of the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think more events such as the U.S. Bar Table and White Diamond Super 9 Ball would be healthy for the tournament scene? I think anything, any kind of tournament is gonna help. It's gonna be something at least. But what's funny is it's, I don't know. Do you have any tar patches left? Somewhere. I think that's something I'm going to do here soon is I'm going to go through here and dig out. I've got some old shirts. They're all clean. They were never sold. But they're like oddball sizes and stuff. Do some spring cleaning here and start selling off some of the stuff that's been stacked away.
Yeah.
What else we got?
Somebody asked me to expand on our concepts. I made a post here. Every player will be required to be available for free group lessons, instructions on various aspects of the games. That's one of the requirements of being invited to our invitational items. And a guy asked, maybe expand on this idea a bit. It's really pretty straightforward. Our invitations will probably be 8 or 16 players, leaning towards 8. That'll be for 8-ball and 10-ball. And to get paid, they have to give free lessons and be available for free pictures in group lessons, and just interact with the 7,000 amateurs who are there. Let's build a fan base. Let's make these things work. Let's force some synergy. And if a person can't do that, then they'll never be back again, but they also won't get paid this time. And it's not because I'm going to hold it back. That's the deal. And I think there's a lot of good players out there that are willing to share and try to instill the fire in some amateurs and build a little fan base, and I think it's a win-win for everybody. So that's pretty straightforward.
Johnny T had a question. You feel Mark Wilson would be a good choice for the Mosconi Cup captain? What do you think of sending Shane with 4 young guns like Oscar to the Cup this year? I think Mark Wilson is perfect.
Me too.
I think he's what's needed.
Yeah.
I think he should have a lot of input into choosing the team. I don't think any players he picks are going to beat the Europeans the first year. I think they're that good.
But they'll behave and we'll be proud of them.
Yeah.
And they'll put up a good, honorable fight.
Right. And
that's a lot right now.
I would much rather see, in my world, I'm taking, I think you build the team around Shane. You make Mark the coach, and you build a culture. You build a culture of teamwork. And even if these guys never get together, until a couple, a few days before the Mosconi Cup, but if that's instilled, and I think Matchroom really wants that. I can tell you now, Matchroom was not happy at all.
No, they're not happy
with how this year went.
But a lot of the things that Johan did was he had a private Facebook page where they could communicate with each other and be a team even though they weren't physically in the same place.
Right.
And I agree totally that Mark would be a great
I think
man.
Mark he's
the right guy.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
Really think he is.
The only issue I could see with Mark is if the players would buy in. And that's the issue.
Yeah.
Because I could very easily, depending on the players, if you pick the wrong players, it'll be a disaster because they'll tell him to go sit on a short stick,
Yeah.
and then you got it. Then it's
Well, then he has to have the power to boot him up. I love the idea of having maybe 6 or 7 players and have a camp and see who's almost. Somebody,
yeah.
it's
I
not
mean,
quite
yeah,
the same mechanics, but it has a little more value.
See, I love those cool ideas and all that
Yeah.
shit, but who's going to pay for it?
I got it.
I mean, so to me, you work within the framework that's
Yep.
established because that's how it's done. But I would love to see them go back and just try it because Matchroom is the only one. They've got nothing to do with U.S. Pool other than they need U.S. Pool for a product. And so, they could be somewhat of what I keep harping on it and I'll keep harping on it. They could be a leader in the industry and say, look, this is what we're looking for. I don't care how good you play. If you act like a fool, we don't need you. So, I mean, to me, that's I think we'll see him do that.
I do too.
I think we'll see him. I think we'll see them just say, "Look, this is the way we're going to go." And the other thing is, you said it. The generational shift, in my opinion, we're seeing it. It's unfortunately there's not, the generation coming up. It's pretty thin. I mean,
it's all computers and video games.
yeah. So, but going back to it, if the right team, I personally, I think Mark's a phenomenal choice. If you let him pick his team or have good input into who he picks, he'll be even better.
Yeah.
I really hope he's the captain next year.
Yeah. His comment though, Johnny Z, like 4 young guns like Oscar. Well, Oscar's a pretty experienced player.
Oscar's been around a long time.
Yeah, he's not when you hear the term young gun, you're thinking of like some 15, 16-year-old kid. They got to be a little bit more than that.
And another guy that I was talking about for captain, and I still think would make if you were going to go with a team of older players. If you were going to put half the same team that was on this year on next year, I don't think Mark's the guy. I think Jeremy Jones would be the guy because Jeremy Jones can talk to those guys and knows how to motivate them. To me, Mark is more of a,
he's more like an instructor.
He's a coach.
Yes.
He comes from that that mindset of this is what we're going. Rigid, which I think can be a good thing if you have people that buy into it, which some of the younger guys will. But if you're going to put Johnny and you're going to put Rodney and you're going to put
I personally
Dennis,
don't think you're going to have to worry about Johnny and Rodney anymore.
But I'm just saying, if you're wanting to put the best players, I don't know what they're going to do. But my point is, there's 2 different kinds of coaches. And I think for a team like that, then I think a guy like Jeremy gets a lot more out of them because he knows them, they respect him, and I also think that he understands how important a team dynamic is, way more so than Johnny does. I think Johnny views the Mosconi Cup as he comes to Vegas and goes on vacation and and hangs out for a few days. I just don't think he buys into the team thing I know they don't buy into it anywhere near as much as Europeans do. No. But I think, like I said, older guys, I think Jeremy's the answer. If they go and build a team around guys like Shane and Oscar, then I think absolutely Mark's the right choice.
You have some pretty good players out there. You got D. Shane, you got Landon Schuff, you got Landon Shuffett, Brandon Schuff.
Yeah, but you're talking about a whole nother level. Like 2 guys you just named, Schuff and DeShane, They looked bad when they played the Cup.
Well, that was Deshane's first year, but Deshane in competition fares better than most Americans. He's actually, according to SJM,
Yeah, I know.
he's the top finisher in the 4 majors.
But
He's not, he's a capable player.
I know he is.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm just saying it's a different thing.
But that's also because the lack of teamwork that's been available. You
Could
get the
be.
team together, they shore each other up.
Yeah.
That's part of what teamwork is.
Well,
You know?
I mean, to me, I would rather see a group of young guys, coached by somebody like Mark, go out and lose 11-0, but do it, with style and grace.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't think that would ever happen. So, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's if anything, I think I know Matchroom wasn't happy with how things went. But, here it is a month after the event and people are still talking about it.
Yeah.
So, that is a good thing, that people give a shit enough to worry about it.
It's getting a lot of ink.
Yeah, which is good.
Yeah, it is.
What else we got?
Well, a lot of them are just the same old things, but one that kind of caught my attention and just showing how things are going is the 2014 Asia Games will not have pool in them for the first time in quite a while.
Yeah.
It's not only here, here meaning the U.S. that's having these issues. Pool is it's just not a spectator game. I wish I knew the answer.
Well,
but
to me, like when you start
yeah.
talking about those kind of things, I think it's more involved with who's got the better lobby.
I'm sure there's a lot of factors like that.
What
but yeah.
sport has the better lobby?
Oh yeah.
I mean,
some of those.
you know what other sport didn't get picked up? Dragon boat, whatever the hell that is.
Oh, I know.
So But here's a question from Fishless. What's your most memorable tar moment? I don't know. There's a lot of them. I guess probably that year at the Derby when Shane and Alex played that Hill set. It's probably still
That's at the old Executive West.
probably still the coolest thing I've ever seen around pool. That just the atmosphere in the room. Everybody was there, and it was really cool. That was, whatever happens when I look back, 20 years from now on this tar thing, that's what I'll remember. Is that?
That's the one that had so much money on the light it was tilted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was. But that was, to me, if there is a good old days for me, that's the good old days. Was.
Well, yeah, I'll tell you that Executive West, where there's something special about the Executive West that the Caesars property will never have.
It just fit.
It just fit. It was just. I mean, that hallway was narrow, and you'd have people 4 deep with their heads against the glass, looking in the bar.
Yeah. And it was just,
It was unbelievable.
It fit.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what the fuck had a? It was years ago, but she had an amazing. It might have been the last year at the Derby or post after that, after the last year at the Executive West, but she put it perfect. If anybody just dig up her blog and go back and just type in Executive West or something like that. But I still remember that years later. She wrote a post and broke it down basically about that really was something. I don't know.
Yeah,
and I'm sure that if we went back now, we go, God, this place is filthy.
It's completely changed now.
I mean,
they
well, now it's
remodeled-
totally
yeah,
different.
so,
But
yes,
I'm saying if we went back to the
yeah.
conditions.
Oh, it was.
I
Yeah.
mean, what else? We're gonna do the Schmidt-Harriman match. You got everyone's panties in a wad. I actually got a message from Danny about it.
Really,
And,
I think that would be a great. But I know that there's. Go ahead.
I don't. I'm open to it. I told Danny that I talked to John about it. Didn't get a chance to get with John. I think I think he's open to it. I think John's open to it. Maybe who knows?
They're both pretty talented players.
They're some of the best.
Yeah.
I mean,
Although
when you start talking about all arounds of 4 or 5 games.
Yeah.
they're amazing.
Yeah.
And Danny's one of the most.
He's knowledgeable.
Yeah.
I would actually, if it was my pick, I would pick him to win, not run away. But I think he would. I think he's going to squeak out a winner if they play long enough sets. But that first one that they had at Q Olympics, they played 3 days and what? It was hill,
Yeah.
and it was amazing.
They've played 2 1-pocket sets, and they both won hill. Yeah. One guy won one, one guy won the other.
How about that straight pool? 4 100-ball runs in a race to 400. Schmidt had 3 of them, and Harriman had 1 or
Yeah.
something. That's pretty strong.
Yeah.
You know?
No, it was, it's, I look, I don't know.
Yeah.
I look back at that kind of stuff, and it's,
Then everybody's ego gets in the way, or something.
well,
I don't know what the
I don't know. I mean, I understand not wanting to, be around somebody. So,
Yeah.
it's just, and the other thing is, whether they play or not, the money's not going to change their life. So, if it's going to be if it's something you don't really want to do,
Sure.
I can understand that.
That was also in the days where backers were around a little bit, and it was a little. The player it was a better deal for the player,
Southern Draws got a thing. No, it wasn't.
Why?
No, I mean they bet $10,000.
Yep.
The players get 30%.
Well, I thought they'd get
If
more
they
than
win.
30. Yeah. Well,
Very few get 40.
yeah.
Very
yeah.
few. So they would have got $4,000
Yep.
to win. Our matches, if you lose, you get 1,500.
Well, I wasn't comparing it
If
to
you-
our matches. I
but-
was
but I'm
comparing
s-
where they're
I'm-
putting up their own money.
Yeah. Well, nobody
Yeah.
puts up their own money
Nobody-
anyway.
Yeah, that's just it. They don't happen. That's half the problem.
Can 2014 be the year U.S. pool promoters put aside their differences, get together, current status of pool? I don't think there's any getting together. I think it's just going to be a matter of who's left standing.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not even sure what the pool promoters' differences are. I'm a promoter. I don't like the term. I don't really have too many differences with some of them. We just disagree. I mean, it's just on style and what we're doing and how we're doing it. And
Well, I mean, to me, you've got Hopkins, you've got you,
well, Hopkins does one event.
one event,
Yeah, and yeah,
and honestly,
it's
not.
not even an event to me. Last year,
Well,
was,
it's not a pro event, but it is a pool event,
Yeah.
and it's a huge pool
Yeah.
event.
Oh, it's big. Yeah.
And to me, I'm guessing it really must be a ridiculously hard, or it must just take a lot of the right things to fall into place, because it just seems nutty to me that he or someone else hasn't been able to replicate that in the Midwest, or Kansas City or Dallas or somewhere like that.
Well, you're the East Coast. They tell me he's 4 hours from 25 million people. I mean,
Yeah.
there's 25 million people within a 4-hour radius. He gets 2,000 of them, 3,000.
Right.
So,
But I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. But it's obviously harder. It's obviously not easy.
But I think
But-
this Southern Draw was probably referring to the pro events. That's current status for pro pool. Well, this last year pro pool, Hopkins was it 8,000 added? I mean,
don't
it
know.
went from 25,000 added to 8,000 added. So
Excuse me.
yeah.
But
And
you
so
know what?
it's-
Here's this word in this post again. We need our promoters to be our leadership, and that's what it is. The BCA is not going to be leaders.
Yeah.
It's, and I don't know. I just the problem that pool has and has had for a long time. One of the many is that generally the people who and it's no different than the world in general. A lot of times the people that stand up and say "follow me" are not the guy you want to follow. So I don't
True.
know. I don't
That's
know.
very true.
I don't know how you fix that. Here, I mean, leaders should lead. I mean, this.
It's a good. The guy wrote a good post. A good question.
I mean, I agree. To me, man, that's it. If I could boil it down to one word, that's it: leadership. Lack of it. Celtic, the 8-ball jihadi. He's,
In
he
Chinese
wants
8-ball.
He wants 12-foot tables with 2-inch pockets and 3-inch balls. Playing 8-ball. I'm just kidding you, man.
Chinese eight
he's-
ball is an interesting
He's
game.
passionate about that. I like
It's
that.
very popular. And really all it is you're playing 8 ball with American-sized balls, 2 1/4, on a 9-foot snooker table with 3.5-inch pockets, rounded pockets. That's basically Chinese 8 ball. I mean, you play exactly American rules. You just got smaller pockets. It's pretty
Here's a
interesting.
question that regarding Mosconi Cup. Can you give your thoughts on how the conventional wisdom from 2012 to 13 could have changed so much? Post 2012 conventional wisdom. Archer's God. He dominated on the table. Amazing leader off the table. Everyone looks up to him. Like having 2 captains. Young guns can then handle pressure. You know, all I will say is I would just say that I don't always agree with conventional wisdom. So, you know, I don't think anyone on earth will tell you that Johnny Archer's not one of the best pool players to ever live.
He's a good player.
So I think he is a bad choice as captain. I think anybody as a player is a bad choice as a captain.
Take a special person to be able to pull that one off.
Yeah, I think CJ was a terrible choice as a captain. I just do. I mean, it's what did he do as a captain? I don't think he did anything. So
And the Americans got 9-9. It was just,
yeah.
you know, a lot of things happened between last year and this year, and I don't really think that, and I didn't watch that much of it. I think the Americans played better, not in 2012, and I just think that you know, the scores just don't show what the game is. You know, I think it was a lot closer than
Well,
11-2,
now here's
but
something he
9-9
said
was-
that I was going to actually post something. But he says, I think the Euro players have a practice schedule, work ethic, and financial support structure that allows it that the USA players don't have. There is some of that. I don't necessarily, I don't think there's any financial support structure. The closest argument I think you could make to that would be maybe somebody like Niels who gets some support from sport federations and stuff like that. At least I think he does,
He
or
used to.
did.
I don't know if he's out there anymore.
But even then, it's not like somebody's paying for these guys to come together before the cup and practice for 3 or 4 days together. It's nothing like that.
But Europe is so small. I mean, really.
But they all
can
live in
dri-
the United States.
Well, that's true. Well,
I mean, it's just
they do now. Appleton, but Appleton still went back for the Euro Tour, and so these guys see each other on the Euro Tour events, and I'm sure they were, you know, I mean, there was a great
you know,
article. And
I think it comes down to
it's a mental. It's
not only that, but they view it as sport. You know, they view it as sport. The players that are great now didn't come up playing pool for sport. They come up playing pool for money. They went in a pool room when they were young. They liked the game. They got into it, and somebody said, "Hey, kid, you want to make some money?"
Yeah.
I mean, look at how Hatch was raised.
Yeah.
Hatch was raised in an RV on the road,
Yeah.
gambling.
Yeah.
You know, Archer, gambling.
Yeah. From the time
You
he
know,
was 16.
Rodney, gambling.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that will make a player tougher for sure, but at the same time,
He's
you know,
not a team player.
look at Stevie Moore. You know, Stevie Moore. He said that he was miserable on the road. You know, I mean, so when your motivation, you know, is different, you know, I think that colors, you know, something like the cup.
Yeah. You have good insight on that stuff. You know, I mean, and that's really, see, you'd probably make a good captain, and you're big enough they'll listen to you. So it's so much of it is mental team. It's a mental aspect of how you look at things. It's perspective, and the team mentality is way more important than the skill level at times.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
I agree because you know the contest itself is structured to, you know, to bring that out, and you know, like I said, I can't. I a lot of respect for the Europeans this year. I think I think they showed. You know, they've done some things in the past. They know how to push buttons. You know, they're competitors too, but they this year, you know, I enjoyed watching. Like I said, I watched every day, and I enjoyed watching it because of them, and.
But they really handled the international pressure so much better because they go to the international events.
Yeah.
Which probably you could say is a moot point because this was held on American soil, but it still had the flavor of an international event. And it's the Americans just are way shy on that experience where you got Appleton, Boys, Niels, and Ralph. I mean, they're at every world event. They,
Says, what are some of TAR's plans for 2014? More all-arounds, long race 10 ball, other. I don't know. Our lease on this place is up in July. We don't know what we're going to do. So,
yeah. If you got any good suggestions, send them in. Yeah,
If,
it's tough. It's tough to make a financial commitment for another 2 or 3 years with the market the way it is. And calling a spade, TAR only functions as a pay-per-view. And you can watch half our players on free feeds, and it just makes it real tough. And I compare it to, and I go by what Justin tells me because I'm not very experienced in this, but we had this discussion a couple of years ago how the porn industry is in a turmoil because you don't have to pay for it anymore. It's all free. So, and so once you take the monetary issues out, and that pool's facing the same issue. There's so much free content. You can probably go on YouTube and probably watch Efren Reyes play for 80 hours.
Yeah.
What do you do now? So.
Well, music's the same. Music had to face the same thing, and to me, the only way you make it is you produce niche content that people are willing to pay for, and you got to give a lot of it away in order to get people hooked.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like I said, we'll see. But we're gonna do the streams at the U.S. Open One Pocket and Bar Table in February. Be there.
Yeah, that's and jump in and play. I mean, the U.S. Open is open, 48-player field, 5,000 added on 32, 7,500 added at 48, limited to 48, and then the U.S. Bar Table Champion. You can play in both. It'll be a little bit of a juggling match, but it weeds out pretty fast. So.
Let me see.
I don't know. It's a real challenge these days.
I'm just looking through the chat here, see if we had anything.
Okay. Well, while you're doing that, I'll mention, don't forget the Jay Swanson Memorial. That's February 15th and 16th. Hard Times Billiards. 3,000 added no matter what. 4,000 added on a full field of 192. It's filled up the last 4 years. You go to our website and sign up on site, or download a form and mail it in or fax it in. Everything's pretty much explained. It's the 18th annual. Eddie from Hard Times, we appreciate him having the facility there, and we got 25 tables. It's a slugfest. We start at 9 in the morning. We go till midnight and come back the next day. The top 48 come back, but it's becoming a social event as much as a pool tournament. So, if you have any questions, always just contact the CSI office.
My stream went wonky here. Let me check something out.
Well, then let me just talk a little bit about the upcoming event, January 17th through 19th, which is Dennis Orculo and Darren Appleton. It's an all-around. First is the 1 pocket, then the 8 ball, then the 10 ball. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I really think it's TAR 38. I think it's a pick'em. It's going to be real tough.
There's a quote here who says, "God forbid you stream and don't charge. Who would do such a thing?" Well, that's fine, but we paid the players almost $40,000 last year. How much did the guys who didn't charge pay?
Yeah, and look at the quality of product. I mean, there's $60,000, $70,000 worth of equipment. There's the best table in the world sits here where they can come in and practice. It's unfortunate, but we pay rent, we pay utilities.
Yeah.
There's expenses. We would love to do it for free. We would get a lot more viewership. And all we got to do is find a sponsor and say, guys, here's 10 grand or whatever the number is, and we'll do it for free. Unfortunately, even if you gave it away free, I mean, AZ Billiards would do it like the Turning Stone. Nobody has ever really maintained over 2,000 viewership if it's free. I've only seen 2,200 like once or twice.
Yeah.
For some reason, and this is worldwide, look at it this way. That's only 40 people per state. There's 50 states. It's almost a little nonsensical at times.
Yeah, no, it's, and to me that's,
that's the problem with the game.
My only peeve is people who think a stream is a stream is a stream.
Yeah.
I personally don't.
Yeah.
There's a lot of streams I can't even watch. If it looks like a surveillance camera in the dark, I'm not interested in it.
Yeah, you're supposed to use pool. You're supposed to watch streaming so you can learn something too. You're supposed to be able to understand how the guy's hitting the ball, why he's hitting it, do this, do that.
But it just so
Yeah.
that always kind of gets my dander up. Is well, so and so does it for free. Okay, how much does he pay? What does he pay the players?
Yeah.
And
some of them are trying to do some nice things, and that's great. Problem being is, and this is not sour grapes or crying the blues, but if there's enough free content, then the pay-per-views will go away. But I think
well,
you'll find that the quality goes away too.
here's a perfect example. Today, before this podcast, Shane and Dennis played a race to 15 8-ball in about 4 innings, and it was everybody that was watching it. And I noticed there were some people in the chat who had never seen any of our stuff before in the studio because they're like, "Wow, this room's cool. Where is this? What is this?"
And what Justin's talking about, it was, what it must have been about TAR 35?
29.
29. This is a match we had between Dennis O'Curlo and Shane Van Woning. It was probably the most awesome 8-ball
Yeah.
ever played. And this is on 4 1/8-inch pockets. And after 2 innings each, the score was 7-7.
Yeah. And now,
You know,
what
do you do with that?
That would have never happened if it wasn't for pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And that's why I tell every pay-per-view, at the end, and I'll say it to the day I die. The only reason any of these matches happen is because people support it by paying money for it.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why you'll see, Shane versus Bustamante, or you'll see Shane versus Efren, or any of these things, was because the viewers did it. The viewers are saying, yeah, we want to see this, we'll support it. And otherwise, what do you think, the players are just going to show up and play for free? And one of the things that kind of bites my ass is, and this will come with the free streamers, is the people that, some of them, are starting to try to do their own events, and that's good. If they find a way to pay the players and they can make $1, good for them. At that point, they're producing something. But for the last 5 years, for the most part, they haven't produced anything. They piggyback on an event, and then they put their brand on it. And to me, it's like, okay, that's fine, no problem. But don't compare yourself to somebody like me and Mark and Tar that creates things and puts directly puts money into the game. And we don't just go out there and stream and so people can send us rep on AZ Billiards.
Yeah. No,
I mean, it's.
And really, if people really want to support what's going on, tell a buddy about TAR and maybe they'll subscribe to it, because like I said earlier, we're struggling. It's like everybody else in the industry. We just need to find another 100 or 2 viewers, and then we can make bigger and better events. It's just, it's there's so much going on in everybody's life today that, we schedule an event and there's tournaments on top of us. There's football, basketball. There's weddings, weddings. There's all kinds of things. Marriages and weddings. That's kind of the same thing, isn't it? But I don't know. It's a tough gig.
Yeah.
Life goes on. We keep plugging away, but we're always open for suggestions, and we really do appreciate, like Justin says, everybody that supports us. That's why we're here. Without your support, we wouldn't be. So.
And that's, I think this year, the whole point of this podcast was kind of 2013 year in review and to look forward to 14. But I think 2014, it could be a year of opportunity. It really could.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not, I think it'll go one or two ways. I think it's going to, you may see something come about that can, at least sustain a little bit what we have. If that doesn't happen, but for that to happen, once again, it goes back to leadership. I think, let's put it this way: there's going to be another leader. Somebody's going to step up.
You bet.
So, whoever that is, if it's somebody good, then I think the future could be bright. If it's the same type that we've had for the last 10 years, then I think it's going to bury pro pool. I think it's going to absolutely bury it. So, we'll see.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of feelings. A lot of people just figure, pro pool is not worth salvaging. I personally think it is.
Yeah.
I still think to show the amateurs and the beginners how to play, you got to watch a Tiger Woods. That shows you how it's supposed to be done.
Yep.
And but I think that there has to be a lot more cooperation between the amateurs and the pros. And
Yep.
I think that's one thing that this year
And
is
I
going
think
to show.
there needs to be a measurable bar to entry.
Correct.
You know,
Very.
and invitationals and things like that will do that.
Yeah.
You know, we've always said the added money, big tournament model doesn't work for anyone. Players don't make any money. The event promoter is lucky to break even.
Yeah.
You know,
Expenses
so,
just overcome you.
Right.
They're overwhelming.
and not only
Which
that,
nobody sees till they've done it a couple of times.
and it's very difficult to watch because you've got 64 guys, and there's so many good players that you know a guy like Brandon Schuff can win anything he enters, and you know maybe Brandon's actually probably too big of a name to too good of a player to use for that demonstration. You know maybe a guy like I don't know. You know, I hate to put anybody on the spot, but okay, here's one, and he's my good buddy, and he'll, and I think he sees it the same way I see it. Jeff Beckley.
Jeff, I like
Jeff
that.
Beckley can beat anybody in the world on a given day.
Yeah.
I mean, he's capable of playing perfect, but he works for a living, so he's probably not going to go out and win a points total. Win a points title. But he can, last year he won, a field full of killers.
Yeah, at the bar table.
He won a bar table.
Yeah.
He's capable of doing that. And there's 50 guys just like him out there in the country, which is good. But if you're trying to make a level where professionals can make a living, that's terrible for them. If they've got to play those guys.
Sure, because one of them was going to knock them off.
Exactly. Yeah.
You can't beat 10 of them in a row.
And it dilutes the money.
Yeah.
So it's.
Again, that's where sponsorship came in. Wouldn't it be great if we had 10 players, 10, 12, whatever the number is, and they all got sponsored by a company, and you could have a tour, that the sponsors pick up, and it's more of a promotional situation. But I just don't see those happening. I think that's how it used to be years ago, like even in bowling, and I mean you had Brunswick sending Lee Jugelard and Don Carter and all those guys.
Yeah.
They went everywhere. I mean they came to Alaska in the 1950s for Pete's sake, So.
I don't know. I mean, we do this every time, but I think there's something there.
Yeah, we all do.
There's, I don't know. It's.
Well,
I don't know how you beat the nut, but.
Well, again, the only thing that's constant is change, and this is kind of the tail wagging the dog. But all these things are the result of the electronic era, the internet.
Yeah.
Everything's changing so drastic. The brick and mortars are going away. Everything is, Amazon.com is probably the biggest retailer in the world. It's things are just changing. And pool's right in the middle of it. I don't know if there's an answer. It's a constant state of flux, and somebody's going to grab the opportunity. And I really don't know. All we can do is keep trying or reinvent the wheel every generation. That may just be what's happening.
Yeah.
So anyhow, it's about 7:30. We've been yapping for 90
minutes of this.
And Mr. Bond's probably waiting anxiously. Probably not. They probably started, but that's
I'm sure
fine.
they started. But check them out, American Billiard Radio.
Yeah.
Next Thursday, we're going to have Darren Appleton and Dennis Orculio in the studio for a podcast. That one will probably be pretty cool.
That should be a pretty good one.
May run long. We don't know what we're going to do yet.
Yeah.
Typical, like when we have players in, we will, have them up on the table, and
show us how you aim.
I'll we'll get a thread started on AZ to get these guys to answer some questions. Last couple times Daz has been here, he's kind of went over some drills and stuff. He's really good at these podcasts. And I'm really looking forward to next week. I mean, it was a big downer tonight, but next weekend I'm looking forward to this because both of these guys are complete gentlemen, some of the best players in the world. They're playing multiple games, which is cool.
Which is very cool.
And I'm looking for. To me, it's. The first two nights are going to be awesome. I don't know which one I'd rather watch, the 8-ball or the 1-pocket. And then I always enjoy 10-ball. So it's the 1-pocket, I think, Could be pretty cool. So
Well, they're both, and they almost come from different schools.
yeah,
I mean, Daz is he's one of them guys. He does practice the drills and everything. I'm sure Dennis does too, but I'll bet you Daz is a little more determined,
yeah.
routine guy, like Ralph Souquet, that you can just picture him in your mind, going out and hitting balls for 6 hours or whatever.
Right.
So, but anyhow, we appreciate everybody tuning in. Don't forget next week the TAR 38, and then the West Coast is actually doing okay. And we like to say, and we have the Swanee February 15th and 16th. You got Chuck Markoulis on the 22nd and 23rd. Might even be the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. And you got the U.S. Bar Table 24th through the March 2nd. And that's with the U.S. Open one pocket too. So we'll see. And in July, our event goes on as usual. So there's lots still coming up, and we'll figure out what we're doing eventually when we grow up. So I guess
All
that's
right,
it,
guys,
Mr.
that's
Justin.
it.
Yeah.
Thanks. We'll see you
Thanks a
next
lot.
Thursday for Daz and Dennis podcast, and then TAR 38. Look for probably do some kind of giveaway for TAR 38 early this week coming up, and that's it. Thanks. Glad to be back, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Good night, all.